All right. I'm going to have very few takes. I'm going to leave it to you guys.
And the Tin Man's cock's made of spaghetti, Jax. Yeah, okay. Nobody wants a busted Penix.
So, I don't know. I think he's going to play probably. He's just going to be grumpier than usual, which is pretty damn grumpy.
I am a coward.
Joe, what's it like walking around with a set of grapefruits in your pants, Joe? He has exercised the demons. Sights and sounds and edges found. You will now get down with The Underground, the show that goes to the depths of the Dynasty landscape. Dynasty Underground is back in your life. I am Trav. I host and I West Coast, of course. And we're posted up on the Undroppables YouTube channel and your favorite audio platforms. Also, go join our Discord. It is free. I am in there every Sunday morning answering all of your lineup setting questions. Let's get some wins together in the Discord. With me, of course, as always, the Miyagi, the wise man, coming off a big day. Jax Falcone, happy belated birthday, sir. It is good to see you.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the birthday wishes. It's no big deal. I mean, you only turn 30 once. You know what I mean? But I gotta say, I was pretty excited to see the look, the guys at the Ringer. Danny Kelly. I've had him on my show many times. We love those guys. They do such a great show. Danny Heifetz and anyway, Craig Horlbeck. Am I saying those names right? Gosh, I don't want to mess up anybody's name. But that show is super fun. We are kind of like the JV version of that, or the underground version of that show for sure. We hold no candle. But the one thing that they did do was the announcers who say sexual things, like they jammed it up the middle or something like this, and they had me rolling. So I've got a few of those in the chamber, if you will, ready for the festivities today, because those guys really inspired me.
I love it.
I like the announcers bit they did. That was a lot of fun. So got to shout it out to the Ringers.
Maybe some Easter eggs coming from Jax Falcone. And on that birthday note, you don't look a day over 29 and a half, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
Of course, in the corner office with the view looking sharp as ever, one Joe Quavius Kuvatakis. How are you doing, my man? Are you excited to talk football?
Very excited to talk football. But Jax just reminded me, I listened to that podcast as well. I was on a hike with my dog. And when that segment hit, I was just like laughing hysterically, walking by strangers, just walking.
Yes.
I just had a little earpiece in, just one little earpiece. So they have no idea. I'm just some dude walking by himself with his dog, just like crying, laughing as I walk by. Must have been a strange sight.
I love that.
You always see those on the street and you kind of wonder what that person's laughing about too. And you're like trying to give them outs on just being a pure psychopath. But hopefully that person you walked past gave you some outs, Joe. And if not, fuck them. Because we only live once, right?
He was wearing that white helmet of his too. So he looked like a man.
That pristine hard hat that he has. Lots of fun stuff to talk about, guys. Lots of injuries, of course. We're going to cover those at the back end. Pretty tough week on that front. We're going to talk about some rookie running backs, some other blow-up studs from week 11. And first, guys, we are going to talk about, we didn't actually talk about it pre-show, Jax, but this was kind of like your brainchild, our little question of the week segment that we were going to introduce. And it's interesting. You threw it out on Twitter just for people to drop any questions for us, no matter what they were. Most questions were in the fantasy football realm, but for anybody else who wants to submit questions for us for kind of the question of the week period, if Jax makes that post, it doesn't have to be football. In fact, I think we were kind of looking, we were looking for more non-football shenanigans style questions as well. We do, if you have listened to this show, we like a little bit of hilarity around here. This week's is a fantasy football question, Jax. But just for anybody who's submitting, you are going to post it because everybody loves Jax Falcone. And then we're going to take some submissions off of that post. This one was a conversation about acquiring 2026 versus 2027 picks at this point in the season. I think it's interesting for those leagues where you can still trade. It's an even better time to start making those decisions, right? Because now you really know what that roster is, and you really know that you have no shot or you need to make that title run. And you can make some of those sneaky moves that it kind of almost further cement that shot more than they would have if you made them 2 weeks ago. And so I think acquiring these picks is important for those teams that aren't contending, because you're selling off those assets. You want to rebuild for the future. And a lot has been made of these 2027 picks and how valuable they are. Jax, I'm going to start with you, I think, because we've kind of talked about this as a team. And I think you maybe have kind of scratched the surface of the 2026 draft class a little bit more than we have. And I just say scratch the surface because I think it's probably early in the process for all three of us at this point. But what are you seeing, and does that make you lean any which way as far as which of these picks you're acquiring?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because there's a lot of different ways that you can answer it. You know, you can talk about the players. You could have a player take, which if I think about the players in this 26 class, I'm underwhelmed. Not at the top. I think Jeremiah Love is awesome. I think there's probably 2 to 4 or 5 somewhere in there. You know, a handful of wide receivers that are probably going to be dope. And after that, excuse me, after that, I don't love a quarterback. So like the quarterbacks are kind of like, maybe 1-2 turn type players. But I mean, we kind of think that if some of these quarterbacks go early, they're going to get steamed up. I don't know. But and then tight ends are tight ends. I don't like to overvalue a class based on tight ends. But then if I look at the 27 class, me personally, I just don't know enough. I don't have a strong enough understanding of future classes to have a strong opinion. Certainly we can evaluate the top of the class and start to get excited about as it starts to get a little deeper, as we start to sort of get to know some of the other players. Like, I think it's kind of obvious there's, Sayin and, Ryan Williams and obviously Jeremiah Smith. And, there'll be other players too but those are like the creme de la creme. That's 3 players. I don't know exactly how deep it is. I started to look at some stuff in preparation for this question. And even in doing some of that, like, researching different sites and looking at different things, looking at PFF, just looking everywhere to try and formulate how much stronger or weaker I think the class is, inconclusive. And so while I don't love the 2026 class, and I think there's some real gems in 27, I'm hesitant to actually say, oh yeah, you got to sell off this way or that way. What are your thoughts a bit about that?
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing that's important to realize is that we do rookie analysis based, primarily on numbers, right? Whereas the hype around these draft classes primarily comes from like college tape bros. So, my general take is that it's kind of crazy that people are valuing 27 picks more than they're valuing 26 picks. And I think, I use this word, probably overuse this term, but there's an arbitrage opportunity there, right? So if that's how people are going to play it, I'm inclined to go the other way, not only to, get more picks sooner, but also just the 26 picks are going to get more valuable as we go through the process, right? We're
Yeah.
going to get excited about these guys, even if it's not as talented of a class as we're accustomed to, or just an average draft class. Like, we're going to get into the middle of that second round and be like, I'm pretty interested in these guys right here, right?
That's right.
So that doesn't go away. And if the 27 class is truly better, like, sell for 27 picks then, right?
Right.
If you're not super enthusiastic. But there are always teams that are rebuilding. First round picks are always going to be a hot commodity. So, like, in answer to your original question, Trav, like, how I'm playing is how I always play it. I'm always trying to acquire first round picks. I don't care if it's 26 or 27. Like, I mean, typically I prefer more upcoming classes. Still can't get that right.
Sooner upcoming. That's a tough one.
Closer in the future. But here's the other thing, Trav. I think you guys should think about too. It's like, okay, if you were to ask Devy players or people who knew about the class upcoming, they were telling you that it's Sean Tucker and Zach Evans.
Mhm.
Evan Stewart was like the number one player. Like, there's just so many times where they're like, dude, this is the guy. And then they're
Luther
not.
Burden. Luther
Yeah.
Burden was a Devi legend.
Yes. And
Right.
he's a good player, and he was a good pick in the early second round, whatever the case. But, I mean, but like Sean
Mhm.
Tucker, Zach Evans is kind of like the king of this. Tink Bigsby, these guys were like, dude, this running back class is stacked. It's going to be unbelievable. And on paper, that was true. That wasn't not true then. It just became not true as the process moved along. And that can work in the opposite direction too. Like, it could have been that Tucker and Zach Evans and whomever would have been great. And then there were other guys that would have loaded on top of them and then had this sort of, really amazing class. We just don't know enough. Even like what we're doing right now, it's funny because I keep thinking about our process and we're going to get to do here pretty soon. We don't even have that information. We're not there yet.
Exactly.
It's not done. So I'm like kind of itching to see what happens with all these college players and how they finish off the season so that I can put it into Jay's model for wide receivers, but our sort of process and our model for running backs and so forth and so on, and start to really digest it. We're almost there and we're not there yet.
Mhm.
If that makes any sense,
Totally, man. Yeah, and like you guys know me, I like to lean a little bit more on player takes in general, and definitely too early for me to have that. There's nothing that's really stagnant. Sometimes I'll start looking at names and whatnot and see who's on some leaderboards, but that's about it at this time of year. And I just think that when we're solely attacking those 27 picks, I think we're unnecessarily kicking that can so far down the road that that's not going to see any value peaks. You know what I mean? I think the value peak for 26s is going to come way sooner, and you're going to be able to play with that pick a lot sooner
Yeah.
as far as kicking that down the road when you get closer to your own draft. Like, you don't have to kick it down the road right now. Acquire a 27, and when it gets really, really hot, kick it back down the road. Like, Joe, you were talking about how we're going to fall in love with some of these prospects. There's going to be other people in your leagues who say have that running back spot to fill, and they think they see that guy in the second round, and they are willing to give you, a first for that second and a fourth or something like that. So I
But
don't
before you
necessarily like
answer,
to kick it too far down the road like that. Yeah.
yeah, but before you answer that though, Joe, I will say in preface to all of this, I think it's important to state, if you put a gun to my head and ask me which class will be better, I would guess 27. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that I don't think, because we don't know anything. We do know things. We do know things. We just don't know everything. And we don't know exactly. First of all, the biggest difference, presumably, although will be the quarterbacks. I mean, there's got to be better quarterbacks. The
Mm-hmm.
quarterback class here leaves a lot to be desired. But again, all that to say, we still don't exactly know what the 27 class will look like. I know, Joe, you actually mentioned before the show, there's also guys who stay in school, and that is going to be a curveball that changes dramatically from sort of nowish forward because of NIL money. These guys
Mm-hmm.
are getting legit bags to stay in college.
Particularly at the running back position. I mean, we saw this would happen with TreVeyon Henderson. We were all excited about him in the 24 class, and he decided to stay in school. There's lots of examples like that. And Coda brought up
ETN and Najee Harris. Yep.
and Coda brought up a good point. Like, Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow were nothing before their senior years, right? They were not viewed as those types of prospects, right? So, like, this 26 class, the book's still not written yet. And
Mm-hmm.
so maybe it's a better class than we think, maybe not. But kind of the way I've been playing it to get to the heart of this is I've been getting the cheaper first round picks. I've been getting 26 picks. And what I've been doing with the 27 class, I found that people will give you a 27 second. Like, so I've acquired a bunch of 27
Mm-hmm.
seconds, haven't been able to get my hands on that many 27 firsts, but I have had a relatively easy time. I think I have more first round picks next year than I've ever had before. Like, I was counting going through my leagues, and there are like 7 leagues where I have multiple first round picks out of 13 real sort of traditional dynasty leagues. And then, I've got a few hybrids that I play in as well. But, for your brass tacks dynasty run of the mill leagues, that's the most first round picks I've ever had. So yeah, these 26s have been easy to acquire. So take them,
Yeah.
and they're going to get more valuable closer to draft day. You're going to see that value appreciation sooner. The only thing that can happen with the 27 class at this point is it can get worse, right?
Yeah.
The perception can't be any higher. It can only get worse by way of what Jack's just mentioned, which is, guys staying in school. And, maybe they just revealed themselves to be not as good as we thought, right?
For sure. For sure. Like what happens when you paid a buttload to get that 27 first, and then all of a sudden it's the 111 and you're behind the first two tiers of players that people want, and you're kicking yourself for paying up for, not getting the elite player that you were looking for in 27. So yeah, it's an interesting thing though, because like just acquire first and don't let a 26 hold you back if somebody is not willing to give you their 27, I would say.
Yeah, and I think every single year across my leagues, at some point or another, I trade a random current year first during the draft. I'm on the clock. It's the 110. I did this year over year, and you'll sell that pick for a next year's first round pick, just sort of straight up. Sometimes it can be even the 201, 202, but I love doing it with late first, which sometimes it's like maybe you're a little unsure of who you're going to take there. You're not quite sure if that player is worth a first round pick. I know I did it with Dalton Kincaid in a number of spots when he was, the sort of the next ADP value. I did it with Caleb Johnson very, very successfully in a league.
Too
I traded
soon. Too soon, Jax.
dude.
Hurts.
This guy's got to feel bad because it's the 25 112 or whatever it was, and it was Caleb was there. He fell, and I traded that pick for a 26 first, and that 26 first is either a 101 or 102 this year.
Oh,
So total pain, but it happens. And that's why you bet on it, right? I mean, if you're trading a late first my point being here is that those trades will likely still be there, even though the vaunted 2027 class. Now, I think people will be a little bit more hesitant if it's potentially going to be early because of Jeremiah Smith, etc. But if they think they're good, they might be like, screw it, I'm getting this, whomever it is, Denzel Boston, and he's awesome, and I'm going to do it, and whatever. So it's going to happen. You're right. This happens every year.
for sure. Couple players to pull out from week 11. Talking about those innuendos, Jax. A couple players to pull out. I said pull out, huh?
Yeah, you said a
See what I
buttload
did there?
earlier too.
I
Yep.
did. Yes, I did. Yeah, I'm on fire tonight, folks. I didn't
No.
even know it. Christian Watson, a big day in week 11, boys. We're going to just fire off some of the notable players. We got some more theory stuff on the back end and some injuries to talk about. But Watson, to me, is looking like the highest upside option in this Green Bay offense. He had 20 points this past week. It's only the second time a Packers wideout has gone for 20 this entire season. Who is the other guy, boys? Just pop quiz.
Had to be Reed. Week 2, probably Jaden Reed.
Romeo Dobbs, week 3.
Mm.
But yeah, the only other one to get 20 PPR points this season. And Watson's come back, and he hasn't had necessarily a massive target share, but he has been producing a little bit on the targets, including that massive touchdown that he had in this past week. That was just a dope end zone catch that he had. I've always liked him as a player. He's always been kind of a frustrating one to have, but he's kind of back on our radar now, and we have to figure out what we're doing with him in Dynasty. So are you guys kind of still lumping him in with that kind of best ballism players, those guys who are not going to be consistent but can have those blow up weeks? Or do you think we could potentially see a guy actually be the alpha in Green Bay that is not Tucker Kraft? Joe, I see a little bit of thoughts swirling around in that head there. Fire away.
Is that what you see?
No, I mean, I think they're all. I don't think we can take 1 week, especially in this offense, and come to any conclusions. Christian Watson has always been, before the injuries, kind of a boom or bust type guy, and this week was a boom, and it's great to see him back. And honestly, the offense really needs him right now, like desperately, and he's one of the guys that Love and Willis trusted, right? That was an incredible catch in the end zone. To your point, I do think until Reed comes back, the answer is probably Watson. But what does that actually mean? I don't know. Wide receiver 3, and but here's the thing: theoretically, there are only 12 wide receiver 3s. We all know that there are like 40 guys who you could project within like 2 points of each other, kind of in that range. You don't know which one of these guys are going to hit any week, so this is a flex play and a fine one.
Yeah. I was going to say, you asked about the best ball type thing. And Yes, to answer your question. It's kind of like, and what's interesting is the deeper the league you play in, if you play in a 14 by 14, some super deep league, then it's kind of like best ball already because you're playing anybody with a pulse. And so Christian Watson is a starter in every one of those leagues. If you're playing in a 12 by 8 or 9, don't really value Christian
Probably not.
Watson at all, really. So it is sort of league specific, and I think that's one thing that we try to add context to that all the time. It's hard to and that's where I think our listeners are either already smart or getting smart to understand what that really means, because Christian Watson is in a 12 by 9 or 12 by 8. I mean, he's just a package to get to a real player, and but in a 12 by 12, like you say, he's an awesome flex play because as a high variance player, he can help win a week.
Yeah.
Whereas some guys you play back there, they're just giving you a few points one way or the other, whereas he can actually go off. So yeah.
I'll also just point out one that this offense still, I joked in our group chat on Sunday that like Malik Willis coming in was actually a good thing for the offense. And what did he do? He led them right down the field for a touchdown. And then they actually started rolling, and Love looked great when he returned. So like, I don't actually think, in the chat, I was like, Malik Willis is exactly what they need right now because they had been so disjointed. You add the rushing elements, and of course he immediately rushed for a first down on like a 3rd and long. Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not convinced that offense is fixed off 1 week, and they also have this terrible playoff schedule too, right? So I'm not putting too many of my eggs in that basket, and I want to trust the guy that is a big playmaker in Reed if and when he returns.
Yeah, love me some Jaden Reed too, and I think. Yeah, I mean, Christian Watson, if we're looking at that group of wide receiver threes, you just have to decide what's your flavor, right? Do you need a steady 10 points, or can you withstand a 4-point game for the potential of having a 20-point game? And that's the kind of guy that Christian Watson is. And so maybe matchup specific too, right? Like if you get behind on a Thursday, maybe Christian Watson is a better start than somebody who's maybe a little bit more of a safe floor player as well.
That's right. Great point. Great point. Right. He's a higher variance player for if you're behind, if you're either behind or not favored in a week. Great point. Great point. But the other thing I would ask, I think, player take, and Trav, this one volleyed right back to you. Look, as a prospect, was Christian Watson any worse or better than Matthew Golden as a prospect? And as of right now, who's the better football player? Who's the better player? I don't know. What
I think it's Christian Watson, because we've actually seen some semblance of ceiling and floor, to be honest with you. Even though his floor is 0, his floor is still higher than Matthew Golden's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I think it's almost like a reroll situation, just with way more unknown in Matthew Golden. But I think what we're seeing from Christian Watson, I've always been a little bit bullish because he is right on the tail end of the phase where I wanted that big body downfield wide receiver every single time. You know what I mean? Before I smartened up, basically. And so I kind of like have this thing, maybe not this thing for Christian Watson, because you guys are going to say, oh, he's your boy, but he's not. Mrs. Watson. Yeah. I don't have enough time for any more children. Let's be honest here.
No. Yeah. You really don't.
But, I just think that we've seen some of those 20-point games from him where we have not seen them from Golden. We've seen him come off an injury and come right into this starting lineup, getting like 80% route share. So for me, it's got to be Christian Watson.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my point, is that, I mean, this is what we're expecting from Golden or Watson, whomever plays that role. Feels like Dubs is the sort of the X. And when Jaden Reed comes back, he's going to be that. So isn't it kind of maybe that Watson and, Golden are actually fighting for the same, dinner plate? Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Totally. And I think it gets interesting with something that we're going to talk about a little bit later, and that is the Josh Jacobs injury that happened in week 11. So stay tuned for that. Another player we're going to talk about, boys, Joe's boy, Sean Tucker, with the big blow up week in week 11. Joe, I don't even look at this guy's name without thinking about you. And like, I was kind of poo-pooing him a little bit. I think it might have been last week. It was last week because I wasn't here the week before. And I didn't say anything about that in the group chat. I don't think I poo-pooed him too hard, but there was a flavor of poo-poo for sure. I appreciate you guys not absolutely burying me in that chat. But what did you see, Joe? And how excited were you that your boy just buoyed his dynasty value?
I have to say, I kind of felt like hashtag Joe was right. Like we were talking about last week, and 5 minutes later he erupts. I was like, I don't know, guys. I think he's pretty good. I do just want to point out, Jack.
That was your Tony Romo voice. That was pretty good. Sound like Tony Romo. I don't know, boys. Mike.
But last week, Jax pointed out his hilariously low yards per route run. Do you know what it was on Sunday, Jax?
Better.
46 and a half.
4.86. He's gotten his season total up to 0.78 yards per route run.
Just like that. Hey, dunking on Jax Falcone's face.
He's on a heater, boys.
That's so good.
I got 2 words for Tucker haters. No, but he was
I'm
third,
no Tucker hater.
He was third in EPA per play among running backs on Sunday, behind only Kyron Williams and Christian McCaffrey at 3.39 EPA per rush. Excuse me. 3 missed tackles forced. He had 5 high value touches, 19 carries, and 34 fantasy points. I mean, that's kind of the thing I was talking about. I wasn't expecting it to happen so soon, so fast, but like I know it's in there. And so when I think he's going to get opportunity, he is more than a YOLO flex. I'm like, I have expectations of these blow up games. It's happened 2 seasons in a row now. Granted, it's not like something you can bank on a weekly basis, but I'm interested. I think he's definitely overtaken Rashad, but it seems like Bucky's coming back soon.
Maybe. I would just have to say I have some embarrassingly bullish tweets on Sean Tucker historically. So had that Twitter terrorist not taken down the fantasy receipts account, it would be in danger. I mean, those things are strong. I was very, very bullish on Mr. Sean Tucker as a prospect. So look, I'm with you. I think it was exciting. I just wondered about the split, right? And Trav, what you had said last week was that he probably has to score a touchdown to be relevant. Well, he scored 3? So he was very relevant. But it's kind of true. Like we don't actually expect him to come through as a pass catcher. He did. He made a big play. It was awesome. But again, it was a big play. And I think that's what it is. He's not a volume pass catcher. That's been proven out in the numbers, and they just don't look to him that way. But look, the dude can flat out run, and Buffalo is kind of any running back playing against Buffalo is must start. You just if your opponent his starting running backs are playing against Buffalo, you're like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
That was the point I kind of wanted to leave out because I wanted to just let my boy get the shine. But I was definitely thinking like we absolutely need to be targeting that Buffalo run defense.
Golly, it's awful. TreVeyon.
Sure. Just a little bit of interesting note here just on Tucker before we ride off of him. He his 34 PPR points was the 12th best week of any fantasy running back this season. Last year, Joe, you mentioned it, 34.2 PPR points in week 6, the 8th best week of 2024 for any running back. So pretty dope for a pretty unheralded guy. I think, Jax, to your point, the split, like if we just think that Bucky's not going to be there, it will still be a split because Tucker isn't necessarily being trusted in those pass catching situations. It was his highest snap share of the season with 45.8%. Bucky had 58.8% himself, which tells me that they're using both of those guys on the field at the same time a little bit, which I think Oh, sorry, Rashad, not Bucky. Yeah. Thank you. Both of those guys on the field, that's innovative play calling to me. So that's just more, more feathers in the cap.
By the way, if you look at Rashad White's success rate as a runner on Sunday, it was like one of his best of the season as well.
And it was better than Sean Tucker's, I think, like percentage wise, I believe, on rushing success rate, which is surprising. But I think his role is clearly in the pass catching realm, right? But I think Sean Tucker is making the most of his rushing opportunities. Rashad White not necessarily making the most of his pass catching plus a little bit of rushing opportunities. And so if it's around 50-50, give me Sean Tucker. I think when Bucky Irving comes back, I don't think he's taking the whole workload. I think Sean Tucker is going to take some of that carry load, and I think Rashad White is the pass catching handcuff is kind of where I see it. But
last year
I
we
am
thought
still, Jax, I'm with you. I'm going to use a term that you like to use. I am still dubious as to whether Bucky Irving returns this season, because I know he's doing these walkthroughs and shit. He did that last week, and he just had a cup of tea out on the practice field, and then he didn't play. So,
I mean, his Twitter post said it all, as Joe quite rightly pointed to weeks ago. Listen, we thought that Sean Tucker was going to retain some not standalone, but some value when Bucky returned last year, and it didn't really happen. I just wonder. I'm hopeful, but I kind of think it just all goes back to Bucky, with those two guys basically being the spellbacks and Rashad being the sort of pass back and number one spellback, and Sean Tucker kind of getting the scraps. Do I think that's how it should roll? Doesn't matter what I think it should be. It's just what it was last year. And sometimes, maybe the idea will be, Sean Tucker is really good. He's played really good. But it also, we've seen this before. Coaches just go right back to, the guys they trust the most and the guys they think are highest on the depth chart. And just a little quick tidbit for those wanting to look it up. Buffalo in the fantasy playoffs gets New England, TreVeyon, Cleveland, Judkins, and Philly, Saquon. So fire them up.
One last point on Sean Tucker. This gets forgotten because he's in year 3, but he was an undrafted rookie free agent signing, meaning he's a free agent at the end of this season. So I imagine they'd want to keep him because Rashad is also a free agent, and it's kind of been a foregone conclusion that it's his last hurrah in Tampa. But I don't know. Sean Tucker could find himself in a favorable situation next year, maybe on the Commanders or something like that.
Yeah.
Where he could get real interesting. So
he could take the cut position in New England and keep TreVeyon down. He could do the Ramondre
and keep TreVeyon down.
You know what I mean? Tamper expectations for 2026 and beyond for TreVeyon. That'd be great.
Jax, you've seen that Instagram reel. If TreVeyon wants to be up, ain't nothing keeping TreVeyon down. You know what I'm saying?
That girl's adorable too. She's adorable. It was down to the knee. She's like,
okay, that's a weapon.
Right. She's so sweet about it. She's not like, I love her. Everything about her. I'm like, oh, you're so sweet. Talking about him, it's manhood down to his knee. That's a weapon. She was like,
talking about the old Massachusetts meat stick, right, boys?
Yes. Yes.
All right, fellas. So this one here is kind of more of just like a kind of a big ups or a shout out once again.
He really rams it into the hole when he goes for it. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Really gets deep into the opponent's backfield, right?
Yep. He goes long.
And chicks dig the long ball.
Yep. He's
okay.
Hard to bring down.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Can't get your arms around it.
Are we good? Because I'm laughing and I can't continue if I'm laughing, but I just want to give some love to these backup quarterbacks, guys, because we talked about it. Those backup quarterbacks with a heartbeat and a path to starting snaps. Jax, I probably butchered what the actual, I think is a Scott Connor saying is on that one, but you kind of get the gist there. And we've had lots of guys this season, like Joe Flacco has held down a lot of teams. Mac Jones, Spencer Rattler didn't do too bad before they benched him for Shuck. Carson Wentz was a factor at one point. And look at Jacoby Brissett, boys, because he is the poster boy for the backup quarterback who is keeping those superflex teams afloat. Jacoby Brissett just had his 5th consecutive week of 20 plus fantasy points, boys. Over the last 6 weeks, he's the quarterback 4. He even served to make Michael Wilson look like what we expect out of Marvin Harrison Jr.
Bro, so 18 targets.
Think, that's insane.
15
that's bananas.
Catches.
Yeah, and I think completions record for Brissett with 47 completions, the most ever in a game. So shout out to him. And I just think this is, to me, it's just kind of more credence to the theory that you should be stacking those backup quarterbacks on your roster. I know we say it all the time. We don't need to spend too much time on it, but it's just a sick run that Brissett's on. And I might add 20 points is something that Kyler Murray never eclipsed in 2025 before being injured. So
Yikes.
interesting point there. But yeah,
speaking to your,
please,
before you even speaking to your point of, roster construction in Dynasty is, I can't tell you how many teams I've had where I've lost some sort of starter, but I had like Mac Jones, Wentz, and I mean, I had all these guys, and I was just like, I don't even need to make a move. I just throw them in there, and there's their value. Their value is in one of two things: either trading them for some sort of a third round pick, which is fine if you want to trade Wentz for a third round pick before he got hurt, or Cousins. Right now, I just saw Cousins trade for 2/4. I put him available in every team, every league that I'm not competing where I have Cousins. Any third will take him, 28 third, anything. I got offered the 2/4. It is a 14 team league, so I don't love that. Would rather have a third in that league, but maybe I'll take it. I don't know. I mean, it's like, if I don't get anything better, I'm better off taking that than nothing. So we've talked about that. You got to take what you can get.
Make it a 27 third. Make it a 27 third.
Yeah. Any third. If we have 29s out there, you can give me a promissory note for a 29 third. No, I'm joking, but you get the drift. It's like, so right now there's a bunch of those guys, Flacco, even Aaron Rodgers right now, ticking time bomb. I mean, he could be reaching the end. There's just a ton of these guys that are like temporary short-term answers that you're never going to be able to sell them for more. And with the number of injuries that are going around, it's very possible that a good team needs one of these guys. And so it is imperative, if you're in a dynasty league, that you exact that value, because you'd rather not let Carson Wentz or Flacco or these other guys die on your roster, having done nothing for your team if you're non-competitive. Why not get anything, a fourth, anything, a fifth, just sell them for something so that you can go ahead and get some sort of value back. So it's very, very important, I think. I mean, I say very, very. I mean, a fourth or a third or whatever. Not very, very. But when you do that over and over and over again, each year, all the time, every time you have that opportunity, then it becomes valuable over time.
It's the margins, right? It's like you get a third and then you use that third for a 2-3 swap, right? It's like it's what's the next thing you're going to do with the asset that you got, right? So that's how you have to look at it.
Yes.
Yep. I shipped Flacco off for 2/4 this week. And Jax, you were talking about roster construction and stacking the quarterbacks, and you reminded me, I was looking for some trades this week, and I can't remember what league, but you have a team where, on Sleeper, when you go to make a trade and it's like left side, right side, you had a team where I had to scroll a full page to get past your fucking quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Thing had like 4 running backs and then it's all wide receivers. And so, just that's what you got to do, because they're going to pay off and they're going to net you those 3s and 4s. So bingo. All right, boys, we are getting kind of close here, but I want to talk about some rookie running backs who we saw some additional opportunity from this past week. And so those are going to be Bhayshul Tuten, RJ Harvey, and TreVeyon Henderson. And we're going to start with TreVeyon because we've talked a lot of TreVeyon, and I don't know if we need to go too ham on him, because I think he is just further cementing himself as at least having a 50% role. I think we know that the ghost of Ramondre Stevenson is looming over TreVeyon. We don't know what that's going to look like. I can't see that being more than like a 50% split, if not less, plus goal line work maybe for Ramondre Stevenson. But Jax, you are the New England guy on the show. So what are you thinking this is going to look like based on maybe what you've seen previously or what you're thinking going forward? Who knows?
You know me, I'm so pessimistic when it comes to stuff like this. I just get so frustrated that, we're going to see TreVeyon get sort of put back in the bottle, if you will. You talk about goal line. He's not necessarily a punch it in from the 1, just blast it through guy, but those 2 runs from the 7, very impressive. Very, very impressive. He juked on one, spin on the other. I know he got pushed on the other one, but he put himself in position to get pushed by the spin move and the whole thing. So he's just a really talented player. Obviously, I think he gives you a home run threat that few in the league give you. There are some players that do that, but he's one of them. Ramondre is not one of them. So I think when you're giving him volume, TreVeyon that is, you're consistently giving your team another opportunity to score a touchdown from 40, 50 yards out, 60 yards, 80 yards out, right? You give yourself your team that opportunity to make a really big play. And I think he's been good enough in the sort of navigating things. He looks explosive. Like he looked really good, man. I this is what we thought we would see. I think you do need to have someone take some of the heavy lifting off his plate. You don't want to see him, 25, 26 carries in a game. That's not what we want to see from TreVeyon. So, I've been saying it all along. You want to see 15-ish carries would be great. 10 to 15, 15, 16, great. And then those targets. Interestingly enough, he has not gotten a ton of targets. Maybe some game script stuff there. I mean, that's bound to change. But yeah, I'm all in on TreVeyon. It's so good.
Well, I think this last game that did sort of change a little bit, right? So he played 56 snaps, that's a full workload, 19 carries, and
Yep.
he had 5 receptions, right? So 24 sort of touches total.
Yep.
That's, I'd say, that's league winner type of numbers, right? If that persists, I don't think any of us think it's going to, and maybe there's a case to be made that he'll be more efficient on less, but boy, he's pretty darn efficient on the full workload.
Exactly.
And not every week is going to be like the last 2 weeks, certainly like Thursday Night Football, where he just immediately started scoring multiple touchdowns, right? But the important thing is that he had 9 high value touches, right? You mentioned those runs inside the 10-yard line, and along with those 5 receptions, right? So that's where he's going to make the biggest impact. Get him the high value touches, and he can remain a fantasy force. He can remain an RB1, even if Ramondre does take half of the workload, which I don't think he will at this stage. But like, if he's getting those high value touches, he can stay, RB1 for sure. Right now, he's on league winner pace, right? If this continues, like he's the cheat code you need.
Yep. Absolutely, he is. So let's talk about RJ Harvey now. He had kind of that, what was supposed to be the big breakout game with J.K. Dobbins going to IR. Was not the breakout game on the stat sheet necessarily, but there were some good signs as far as him kind of being the lead guy for the Broncos while J.K. Dobbins is out. He had 61% of the snaps, 51% of the routes, which was awesome. We love seeing RJ Harvey in that passing game, and 14 touches. And so I think it's going to get better than what we saw from his 30 rushing yards on 11 carries this past week. We know that he's that explosive player, kind of a la TreVeyon Henderson a little bit. Good pass catcher, can break any play big. Same deal. This is almost like we're supplanting our take from TreVeyon like 2 weeks ago onto RJ Harvey right now for me, where just keep riding this guy, because if he's getting that kind of workload, he doesn't need the full 20 carries a game. Give him 15 touches a game and he's bound to break a couple, and that's going to pay off for your fantasy weeks. And so anybody see anything that took them off of their bullishness of RJ Harvey previously, or are we still all systems go here, boys? Whoever wants to chime in.
I think it's still all systems go. I made some offers for RJ Harvey in a couple dynasty leagues, one FFPC league in particular, where I'm a contender and I've got Josh Jacobs. So I was thinking, what am I going to do? I'm willing to trade my first round pick because my team is just that good. It's like, I got to go win a title. And, I was thinking, do you go after like a Derrick Henry plus, or should I just go get RJ Harvey, who's got enough runway where I could justify sending the first round pick anyway? So I'm still pretty bullish, but that was a tough game on Sunday, right? His EPA per rush was negative 2.56, which is not what you want to see. Only 8 fantasy points, and he only got 8 fantasy points with 3 receptions. That's pretty hard to do. The other thing I didn't like is this kind of turned into, like you saw, Jaleel McLaughlin returned. Tyler Beatty was out there. Excuse me, Batty.
Good day.
And so I don't know. I don't want to read too much into it because he had a pass attempt. Granted, it was ill-advised, and
oh my god, that was so bad.
Bo Nix turned into a cornerback on that play. So they have 2 pretty good white corners on that team. But so like, but he's got that Joker possibility, and I hate using it's almost like a meme at like using the Joker term at this point, but he actually does have the skill set to make it work. I just think it was a tough game. Denver's been in a little bit of a rut lately, so
Mhm.
I'm not losing faith, and there's going to be more opportunity for him down the stretch, right? He's exactly what you look for, right? A rookie that's getting opportunity late in the season that can make a difference in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the difference, if you look at TreVeyon, like, if you're on Sleeper and you look at his schedule upcoming, it's just green for TreVeyon. It's just everything's green. It's unbelievable, the closing schedule. And, after the bye for RJ Harvey, he does get Washington, which has been awful in every single way. But then it's a little bit harder, after week 14, the playoffs are Green Bay, Jacksonville, and then again at Kansas City in the Super Bowl. I would not be excited to start RJ Harvey in the Super Bowl at Kansas City in the end of the season, a little cold, the whole thing just doesn't sound awesome. They're going to want to win that game. Kansas City is, they need them. So they're going to be playing hard. Who knows what Denver's playing for, but I guess my point is I think you could do better this season. I do appreciate what you're saying in terms of runway going forward. Although he's a little bit of an older prospect, it's an interesting case. I'm not trying to push back that vehemently because I do think he's going to get real workhorse touches. I think a lot of people, I was listening to Establish the Run, and they were talking about he was out on the field a ton. He's the lead back. I mean, the sort of the touches looked one way, but the snaps were clearly in his favor.
Yeah.
He played the vast majority of those snaps. And so anyway, long story short, I think you could go either way on this one. I don't know if I'm sending future first for RJ Harvey. Me personally, I would probably try and find a player for player type of move that suits me a little bit better. Maybe a player and a pick, a player and a second. I'd hate to just come off a first and then not win my league and not be really stoked about RJ Harvey going into 2026, because there's another small concern with RJ Harvey, and it's his size going forward. His age is one thing, but his size, maybe he's going to be viewed as sort of a change of pace back, an expensive, valuable, great, super cool, but change of pace rather than lead back. It's possible, and it's in the back of my mind, and I don't like it.
I don't know. He's had explosive plays from early in the season. I just think that there's more that we're going to see from him, and it's like it was a tough game. It was a freaking rock fight. Don't let the score fool you. It was uglier. It was uglier than that.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm pretty stoked on RJ.
What do you think, Trav?
Well, I think, I don't think we're necessarily even looking that far down in the future with RJ right now. I think the future outlook is what it was for me when we came into this season, right? I think he is going to be that big play guy. This season has made me think, okay, maybe he's not going to be a full workload guy, and he probably is going to be a tandem, but we see those guys produce big anyway, and he's got a profile that can produce big anyway. So I'm not worried about that. I'm more so thinking that I'm looking at the next few weeks, right? Because if I had him on my roster, I've been aching for him to get this kind of opportunity. And I need him for this stretch run to get me into these playoffs or solidify my playoff chances or give me hope or whatever it is, right? And so I think that's what you want from RJ Harvey, because I think by the time you get to that Chiefs matchup, you're going to know what he is and whether you want to start him in that matchup, because you're going to have seen him enough already to know whether he can pop those big plays off even in a bad matchup and transcend that defense he's playing against, right? And so if we've seen that by the time he gets to the fantasy playoffs, that on limited roles, despite the matchup, he's still popping off one here or there, I think he could be just a fine flex play on the ceiling case, as opposed to knowing the floor is kind of lower. So I think we are looking a lot more short term with RJ right now, just because of what he has been so far on our roster and what he can be for the next few games. And I'm kind of keeping my preseason evaluation on him for now, because unless he blows up, right? I think if he blows up, then I would lean more towards steaming him, as opposed to if he falters, I think I would drop him less than I would steam him if he goes the other side, if that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. But your avenues are very interesting there, and the size take, and
I mean, and here's the thing:
we have to open that possibility in our minds, right, to be able to.
I'm an RJ Harvey fan. It was like my favorite running back in this class. I love him. He's so much fun to watch. But I can't. I gotta call it like I see it from what I see now. excuse me, and unfortunately, his only real opportunity has come against a very, very good run defense. So who knows? Time will tell. I think, the Washington game will tell a different tale after the bye,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll just have these 2 data points, one good, one bad, presumably, and then we'll have to, kind of go from there. So
Yeah, and I think whatever the price might be, like maybe it is that first, so be a little bit cautious if it's that. That bye week that he has is a massive buying opportunity, and that Washington game is
there you
juicy
go.
coming out of it. And so you might not have to pay that first on a bye week team. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Last rookie we're going to talk about here, Bhayshul Tuten.
Woo!
Had a nice little day, huh? And like early in the game, we chat throughout the day, and we're texting throughout as we're watching games about what's going on. And one of us is like Bhayshul Tuten, and then the other one's going to check what happened or whatever.
Not one of us,
All of us basically.
specifically one of us,
Yeah,
is
well,
talking about Bhayshul Tuten, and it's Mr. Quave.
yeah, and I think Quave, you said, is the Bhayshul takeover happening? And we were monitoring. It didn't happen as far as the touch sheet went, but boys, in the first half, he outpaced Etienne with 46% of the snaps to Etienne's 35. 46% of the team's rush attempts to Etienne's 35. So I don't know if the
Yep.
takeover is happening, but the trust is more there. You know what I mean? And their willingness to put him in situations that they would previously have only put ETN in was there, because some of those carries were goal line, one of which was a touchdown. And so that's what we like, because if he's making big plays and getting some goal line work, that's ultimate upside to me, Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, just successful run after successful run, right? He had 15 carries. He left the game early. Honestly, I was mortified because I thought his season ended when he apparently injured his ankle. It looked like a lot worse than that to me. And I was like, oh my God, mid takeover, mid breakout, we're losing this guy. I was like pretty devastated. So I'm happy to hear that he's questionable for this week. So that might have slowed down the full-blown takeover. But no, I think that's how I would describe what was happening in that first half. Until he got hurt, he was kind of the most effective player on that team, right? His rushing EPA in that game was 2.82. That's very good. And he didn't even really like break a long one. It was not like the Bhayshul Tuten we expected to see. It was like a dude that was moving the chains and getting it done with volume and effectiveness. The concerning thing is he didn't have any receptions. And that's, I think, one of the things we underwrote into his values, that he's going to be a pass catcher. And we knew when they drafted LaQuint down that narrative might be dying. So I would love to see him get a little bit more work in the passing game, but he is so explosive as a runner, and he's been decisive out there. That's exactly what we wanted to see. If you remember, everything we said about him during the
Yeah.
process is like the indecisiveness makes me really worried. And it seems like, those demons have been exercised, and this dude is now just a dangerous running back, right? It's like, think about like, I don't know, Achan, bigger Achan, but without the pass catching yet, right? But it's just like this running efficiency. I don't know. What I just described probably isn't that sexy, but it's sexier than that.
but to your point, Liam Cohen had mentioned that he was getting north and south. Those were his
Yes.
words, right?
Yes.
So the fact that they see what you're seeing in terms of this sort of forward motion explosion and trusting and all the things that we thought might be an issue. We didn't know it would be, but it could be.
Yeah.
And it's not right now. So that's good. And so for however long, it remains that he's that, I think there is a bit of I don't know about takeover. I think there's probably a little bit more of a 50-50 split. Etienne's been good, man. That's the thing is like, people always want the new thing, but Etienne was a first round pick, stud at Clemson, ran for miles and miles. I mean, he hurt himself in the pros and has since dealt with that coming back. But he's not this natural runner, but he's explosive in his own right. So I think they're going to look for ways to get them both involved. And so I think they're both going to have value down the stretch.
And I think that has to be their game plan too, right? I think at this stage, it's hide Trevor Lawrence as much as you can, especially with Brian Thomas banged up. It's like
Hunter's out.
Make this as simple as possible for T-Law. Throw when you need to, but for the most part, let's build this offense around the running game, and look how effective it was on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
they got some decent matchups too, like Arizona, Tennessee, Indianapolis, and the Jets, their next 4 matchups. If you look at schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed on fantasypoints.com, all 4 of those matchups are more than 20 schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed per game, and 3 of those 4 are more than 25. They have Denver in week 16, which is a tough matchup, but Indianapolis is also over 25 schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed right now. And so that's a nice little schedule for running backs. And so,
Agree. Yeah, not
you know,
bad.
Bhayshul could be popping some shit off.
Yeah, I've got Bhayshul in a couple of taxi squads still.
Oh
I
my
think
god!
don't we have him in one or no? Do we have him in the under
And
or
Everest.
Is
in
it in
Everest?
Everest? I hope so.
I don't
I
know.
think
Let
That
me
team's
look.
a wagon.
We've got some
That
dope
team
players on
would.
that taxi squad, though.
Yeah,
That
that's a
team
dope
would.
taxi. That is a fucking good team. But anyway, I've got him in a couple, and I'm like, this is a perfect like sort of playoff break glass in case of emergency running back that you just I'm pretty excited
Mhm.
about. If it does happen, that I'll have him there. So
We
yeah, I think a
do
lot of
have
fun.
him. We do
There you go.
have him.
Yep.
Him,
Nice.
Ollie Gordon, Brashard Smith. That's a perfect taxi squad.
Yeah,
Oh my god, yeah.
And
really
Torrey
is.
Oh
Horton.
my
It's
god.
beautiful.
it's Torrey Horton, right? It's like
Yeah.
what an awesome taxi.
We should do more drafts together, guys.
Yeah,
We
that was
did a
fun.
good job.
That was
We
fun.
did a good
Yep.
job together. Yes.
Totally. Joe, you said something earlier that reminded me of I think it's an Ace Ventura line when you were talking about Bhayshul Tuten and getting north and south. He has exercise the demons. Sorry, I had to pull that one out because
That
you
pretty
said it
well, sir. Did
and
that
I
pretty
was
well.
thinking about it the entire time. So thank you for serving that up on a
You know,
silver platter.
you know, it's funny. I'm going to give the audience a little peek behind the curtain. You know, in the pre-show, we somehow got to talking about There Will Be Blood and Daniel Day-Lewis, and Trav's like, I don't watch movies. Like, I always feel so weird not being able to quote these movies. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself, like, Trav quotes movies all the time, and there's one
Only
genre. It's
Yes.
always like 90s slapstick comedy.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
Yeah.
watched Ace Ventura on VHS on repeat, boys. That was like the only hilarious comedy that we had, and so I was
That's all
watching
they
Ace
had in
Ventura.
Canada
Yeah, that's all we had up here
on
in
the
Canada.
island.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
We didn't get Ace Ventura 2 until
No.
years later. It
Yeah.
was crazy. Yeah,
Right.
just saw that a couple years ago, actually.
Yeah. In the theaters. Weird.
In the theaters. Okay, boys, we got to talk about some of these injuries, and there's a bunch of shit to talk about. First off, I want to say thank you to you, Joe Quavius, for firing the list in the show sheet. I was running short on time today. Asked you if you could put the updated injuries in there, and you were so kind to do that. So
It's a long list.
it's a long list, and we're going to start with some quarterbacks. Michael Penix Jr. We had a busted Penix, boys.
Yep.
Nobody wants a busted Penix. Nobody wants one. Joe, you've got here that it's an ACL. I just saw that it was like a knee bruise and like a knee sprain, but we're talking ACL now for
That
one
came
Michael
out
Penix.
today.
Ouch.
Partial ACL, which will need surgery. Dunzo.
Yep.
So we're
Right.
probably
9 months.
he's had how many ACL injuries already, right? So this is like the concerning thing. This was always one of the things in his profile we were worried about. So
Yeah.
now they get to pay Kirk Cousins a whole lot of money to actually play some games for them. My thing with this is like, especially with Drake London out too, like I'm really worried about Bijan. I'm counting on Bijan on a couple of contenders, and like I think that this team might be, the wheels might be falling off pretty hard here to wrap up the season.
I think
Yeah,
that's just more targets for Bijan. I think
There
it's
you
just
go.
more targets because if
That's
they
the only thing you can
don't,
hope for.
he's already so fucking good that if they don't just increase his workload, A, that's stupid, and B, they know that they're fucked. So I think it might be better for Bijan, in my opinion. Joe.
I don't know about better, but
Maybe
I
not
will say,
better. He needs
yeah,
more big play touchdowns because they won't be in the red zone as much for those touchdowns. But those are probably going to Tyler Algier anyway.
I think they're gonna lean to Algier and Bijan a little bit more because they become two of their better players on the roster. Obviously, Bijan, their very best player for sure, but they don't really have much in the pass game. It was funny. You hear David Sills' name. I'm like, dude, I remember David
That's
Sills.
his
Like,
last thing to pass, man. Yep.
bro, I thought he was gonna be good. Whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's obviously not a good thing when you're talking about David Sills as one of
No.
your main wide receivers. So, Daryl Hodge is like the WR2 here. Not good. So I think they've got to lean into run, and then that's going to give. But again, can they even do that? And to the effect that they can't do that, meaning they're behind in games. I think you're right. I think targeting Bijan is obviously very, very smart. And Bijan had a very down the field ADOT both in college and in the pros. He's able to go out and catch balls, wheel routes, all these different angle routes. He can do it all. So it's not like you just have to dump it to him behind the line of scrimmage and pray that he can make a play. You can actually involve him in some creative ways. We'll see if they can do that at all. But I'm a bit dubious to give you the line back.
Well, out of their next 6, I think they have 3 matchups where they can and 3 where they can't. Their next 2 are at New Orleans, at the Jets. They can keep those close for sure.
Yep.
2 after that are versus Seattle and at Tampa Bay. Next one after that is at Arizona. Yeah, probably. And then their week 17 matchup is hosting the Rams. So,
yeah,
it's not going to be great. I think like as far as Penix, like he's probably going to be into next season, I would say. Yeah. I think the only kind of saving grace here is that he's already a pylon quarterback. And so I don't think this injury is going to like, you know what I mean? It doesn't sap a bunch of rushing upside. And so we don't want to make light of it or anything like that, but I think he will remain a pylon quarterback when he comes back.
You ready? Yeah. Trav or Joe, both of you. You're rostering Bijan, and it's a wagon. It's a dope team. You've been counting on Bijan, but now the JT owner says you can have JT for Bijan straight up. You doing it?
And I'm ready to win that title. Like
that's never happening because the JT owner is your competition. I'm just sort of trying to put you to the test. Maybe the Gibbs
I think
owner.
I would. I think I would.
I don't know. Gibbs. I think I would.
I don't think so, man. I don't know. Kirk Cousins has been so shitty, but like, do we think he can? Do we think he can't be what Michael Penix has been giving them?
No.
Because I think he could. Like Michael Penix has not been anything spectacular.
I think Cousins is straight washed.
Like full, yeah. He has looked it. Broke. He has looked it. It just seems like such a puzzling fall to be like $108 million quarterback, and then you can't do it at all.
Yeah, I just don't think he's got the zip.
I completely agree with that. And honestly, where my head has gone is what do we think of holding Penix? It's not exactly like this guy has proven that he's good. It's not like they were winning with him, and now he's got this another catastrophic injury. I mean, I think it's like the floor just fell out on his value, and now you are stuck, and you were probably counting on him as like your young QB.
Oh, dude, I have a team.
Maybe they'll take their first round pick and pick a quarterback with it. Oh wait, no! What
they don't have one. I have a team, boys. Listen to this. I have a team. Luckily, I have Drake May, but I was like, shit, I have the best quarterbacks in this league. I had Drake May, JJ McCarthy, and Michael Penix.
Yeah.
And so thank God for Drake May.
You're welcome.
But, yeah. Not very good for Michael Penix. And so the future is not looking great for Atlanta. But I still will maintain that Kirk Cousins is capable of handing off the rock and throwing a check down. So I'm still good with Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I could do that.
yeah. How about old man Rodgers? Non-throwing wrist, small fracture from what I read. Doesn't need surgery, I don't think. But we'll see whether he comes back this year, what it's going to look like. Mason Rudolph. What's that? Is he going to play this week? Oh yeah, he wants to play. That's right. I saw that too. He's like lobbying for it, which interesting.
I think he's just gonna be grumpier out there.
Yeah,
he's just gonna look a little. He's gonna look a little older. Like he every game just looks like he does not want to be there, especially as it gets colder in Pittsburgh and in the AFC North. Like, oh man, this is gonna be just unenjoyable to watch these games. I don't know.
Is it me or does he look so weird in the helmet? Is it?
He does. It's like he has aged so much, and he's got like this weird sort of double like he should really grow a beard, like a thicker beard. I don't know. Yeah. It just looks weird. His head's like long and narrow.
So weird. Yeah, it looks like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't look like he should be wearing a helmet at all.
It should be a different helmet. Yeah.
Yeah, different. It's like a 1920s helmet or something. It's something's not right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think he's gonna play probably. He's just gonna be grumpier than usual, which is
Yep.
Okay.
pretty damn grumpy.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this one is sad. At least out for week 12, potentially week 13, but not confirmed yet. Drake London.
Yeah,
Knee injury.
it's bad.
He's top 5 wide receiver this season. He has looked absolutely amazing. Like all of the upside that we've talked about him having has come to fruition despite the quarterback play that he has had. I don't know, man. So like, I don't think we're adjusting too much on Drake London. Obviously, it might only be 1 or 2 weeks. Do we think that there's an adequate fill-in on this team for week 12, boys, or going to take the Drake London conversation wherever you want to?
What's the rush to get back? It's like they're saying he could be back for week 13, but they're on not making the playoffs. So why are you even risking him if he's injured? I am dubious of a week 13 return. Then what does it look like come week 14 and in the fantasy playoffs? Like, yes, you obviously, if he's playing, you're playing him. You don't have a choice. You're starting Drake London. There's very few teams that have the luxury of not playing him, but I'd say outlook is bad.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he was firmly in that sort of top 8 dynasty wide receivers. You know, the Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra, CD, Jefferson, JSN, Puka, Jamar Chase, that whole group. He was in there. Like, I had him at 8, just at the backside of that. But like, you know, when I was looking at like Neighbors versus London, I was like, holy smokes, that's actually a conversation. You know, London versus Amon-Ra. It's like, I think maybe it might be London. Like this is how good he was. He was playing so well. He was scoring you fantasy points. He's young. He's tied to a young quarterback. And then in 1 week, this all feels awful again. You know, where he's hurt. Not sure what his 2025 this season is going to look like. And you know, there's a little bit of question for next year. Who's the quarterback going to be? If it's, I mean, they could move on from Penix and I don't even know what that looks like. So yeah, it's just a lot of uncertainty now, and it really bums me out. If you're holding London right now, it feels like you have more questions than answers right now.
Yeah. In a 2-week period, that all came crashing down for you. So
I mean,
would
would you swap? I mean, would you trade London straight up for Tet McMillan?
Shit.
If I
Especially after what
need
we
the
saw
win
this
and
week.
I'm in contention right now, I think I'd be okay with that trade, which sounds crazy and stupid. I think it's probably ill advised, but there's some teams that are going to need that dude, right? So
You know, I'm just
I'm not,
wondering where
I
you
don't
can
hate it.
go. Yeah, where can you go to sort of replace London? What were the sort of pivot moves? I don't know that there's that many players I'd move that. Like Rashi, is the Rashi Rice owner going to take your Drake London straight up?
No way. No way.
Right? Like Abuka, but Abuka's been hobbled. I don't know that he's, Odunze. Could you trade Drake London straight up for Odunze, and would you?
Okay. This might be blasphemy, but at full health, I think I probably would take London. Even right now, though, there's been some inconsistency in Chicago too, right?
I take
So it's not
London
like,
over Odunze if they're both healthy.
yeah.
I'm saying right now, would you trade London for? I guess you would, Trav. I mean, you're his mother, for Christ's sakes. But would you trade London for Odunze
Well,
straight up right now?
that's what I'm saying. Is I don't know if it's that signed, sealed, and delivered with some of the recent, like the last few weeks inconsistency. Because the reason why you're doing that is because you want to keep this season alive,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I think 3 weeks ago, I probably, if this happened, I would have said, yeah, Rome's going to keep this going. But the last couple of weeks have been a little bit of fluctuation in the Bears' target share. So I think I probably would Jax, but I would dig deep into that fucker.
I think I might go to like the CD Lamb owner actually, because they may not be very good because he's missed some time and whatnot. And I might go to him, try and get a elite but slightly older prospect and just get them on the value proposition of more time. I think that's the direction I would go with it if I'm trading him.
It's
Well,
just
what
tough.
about
He
like
doesn't have a lot of peers. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
not a lot of players that you can trade, and feel good that you've given up on London to get something. Do you have to give up on London? I feel uncomfortable sort of going into playoffs with
fair?
huge uncertainty, health-wise, huge uncertainty, with the quarterback. Yeah, it feels I don't know. But it also feels like you're sort of trapped with him because who's buying him? Only a next year. It's a very skinny out. You don't have a lot of ways to maneuver out of this London situation.
Oh,
I'd be trying to find a way to acquire a wide receiver without sending London as best as I could, for sure. And I think, like, what if you did like what if you went for a now plus later pick, like a Pickens plus a young asset for Drake London?
I love Pickens, dude.
What if it was, you know what I mean? Like, you're looking at CD as a part of that Cowboys offense. Pickens is producing like a fucking monster. Long term, not as good as London, but if that plus can supplement the gap between Pickens and London long term, and like if Pickens, the Cowboys should not do this, but saying that means that they probably will re-sign George Pickens to a big contract alongside CD and Dak's contract. If that happens, then you're laughing if you get a plus on top of London, I think. So I don't know. Interesting.
By the way, remember a few weeks ago I was asking if Pickens versus Marvin Harrison Jr. I think it's
Pickens, man. It is Pickens. Look at what Michael Wilson just did, and that's shit that Marvin Harrison has never done.
Dude, Pickens looks so good this Monday. I know it was,
still
the Raiders. Sorry, Joe.
Stop. Yeah,
I'm just saying.
The open field stuff is actually like the huge thing that we just never got to see from Pickens before, all that much on these crossers, right? And it's like, oh, look at him, doing the thing that like these super agile receivers do, where you like jump backwards in order to go get more yardage. Right? Like,
cut to the end zone on that deep one was unbelievable. So that was
just
like
the angular
straight up 45 he just cut.
Video game move.
Good.
Legit.
So good.
Like so cool. So
and he looks
cool.
gangster with the turtleneck. I just got to say,
love
the
him.
Turtleneck is kind of gangster looking. You know what I mean?
So into him.
Yeah.
I love everything about what he does out there. He's so badass. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So cool.
Another one that is going to have fat with a PH impacts on fantasy rosters is Josh Jacobs and that knee contusion. He's going to miss this week. Emmanuel Wilson is going to be the clear-cut running back one from where I'm sitting. Looking at the second half snaps after Jacobs was out last week, Emmanuel Wilson got 94% of the team's snaps in the second half. So that told me all I know. I think Jacobs is such an interesting dynasty proposition because you're doing everything you can to get him off your roster. You can't. And when he's healthy, he's producing nicely for your team. So what do you do with him, Jax?
I know this much. I've got a lot of Emmanuel Wilson shares, as you all know.
Yes, you do.
You're probably looked up and saw that I had him in leagues that we're in together because I've got his ass. He felt like one of the cheapest, most easy to acquire off waivers handcuffed backup running backs in the NFL. It was crazy. So Emmanuel Wilson, I picked him up in a redraft league. I had him in Scott Fish. Trav told me to drop him. I did not. Trav.
All right. We didn't have to fucking say it on the show, man. Jesus. It was just, we were looking for guys to drop so you could pick up somebody. Fine.
I'm joking. I'm just joking. But
anyway. I know. I love you.
The Emmanuel Wilson now, here's the question. Do you know how many weeks we're looking at with Josh Jacobs? What's the update? Do we have an update?
No, he might play this week, right?
Yeah.
It's a knee contusion. So we don't know what that means. That could be a multi-week injury, but I imagine like conservatively, I don't think he misses more than a game. It's a question of how effective is he going to be, right? But it does, like I mentioned earlier in that league where I have Josh Jacobs and I was trying to get my hands on RJ Harvey because I realized just like how fragile my team is without Josh Jacobs and I need more bodies at that position.
Mm-hmm. And this is case in point on why in Dynasty it is okay to handcuff, especially as you're going down the stretch. I've done this. I know I've mentioned this. You should be, trading, handcuff for handcuff. If you have one handcuff of someone else's running back and they have yours, it's kind of nice to be able to go, hey, man, Tank Bigsby, Emmanuel Wilson, can we do this here? Obviously now, it's harder once your guy's actually hurt to trade for his handcuff. People are going to bend you over.
Yeah, and it's not like Jacobs is a super tradable asset either. He's great if you have him, but no rebuilding team wants to go add a Josh Jacobs, right? So
no. And even a contending team, like it's hard to get a first for Josh Jacobs on a team that needs a running back too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, boys, I'm going to move us into some of the good news coming into week 12. Joe Burrow getting closer to practicing. Joe, you have on here practicing in full ? Does that
No,
mean
no,
he
no.
is?
No.
Or
He practiced in full
okay.
today
Okay. Why'd you have the
Mm.
question mark on there then?
because it's like he's practicing in full. We just didn't
Yeah,
expect
okay,
it.
yeah, I get you. The tense. I
Sorry,
got you. Yeah,
I
no,
type
fair,
like I
fair.
talk.
In full? That's unbelievable. It's wild because the Bengals are so out of it. It feels like, why would they do this? It's also wild the fantasy impacts that this has, because if you think of all of those teams that are relying on Flacco right now, that are losing Flacco when they absolutely need him to be starting for this team, all of those teams maybe who are in playoff contention, who withstood the Burrow injury, and then some of those teams who are not contending, who have a massive asset in Joe Burrow on their team that could be traded away before the playoffs. And so I think this is a huge one, and it impacts a lot of stuff. I didn't even mention the wide receiver production that could increase once Jamar Chase gets back from spitting on a fucking guy. What are you thinking about the Burrow return here, Joe? Do you think it's kind of dumb for them to bring him back, or do you think, he's a football player, he probably wants to get out there, so you just let your franchise guy do it?
I mean, I'm sure that's the case, right?
Yeah.
He's already lost multiple seasons. He doesn't want to let this one go. So he's, proven to be a warrior, and he's going to get out there as soon as they'll let him. I don't know if that's going to be this week, right? We don't have an answer on that as of this recording. But it seems like it's going to be, week 12. Wait, we're in week 12, week 13, right? So that's actually great if you're a Burrow owner and happen to weather the storm, because you're going to get to see him a couple of times before the fantasy playoffs start. And I don't know, it just seems like every year come December, the Bengals are absolutely lighting up the scoreboard points. So we want this for our Chase and our Higgins bags for sure. Flacco's done a nice job holding up their fantasy value, but with Burrow, I think we can, get some of those huge boom weeks that we need to win playoff games.
Yeah, I mean, they're 3-7. You would think, oh, they could go on a run if they can win out. They could get to 10-7. Wow, they could probably make the playoffs. They're not mathematically. And then you look at their schedule: Patriots at Ravens, at Bills, Ravens. It's like, oh, yay.
The
So I
Ravens
mean,
need both of those, by the way.
exactly.
So
Those are,
bad.
yeah, unbelievable run right there. That is not good. You do not want to play. And then it's like even they end with at Dolphins and then Cardinals, Browns. Browns tough defense. Like there's no easy outs, So
None of those defenses scare me except the Browns, though.
Browns,
Everything you
yeah.
just named was actually kind of Patriots, I guess, is okay, but everyone else is kind of a cakewalk from a fantasy point standpoint.
Well, and the
Not
Patriots are a pass
necessarily
funnel.
not necessarily if you look at the schedule adjusted fantasy point stuff, like Buffalo and Baltimore, both under 12 schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh 18.2. Oh, sorry, Pittsburgh's not on that. I'm looking at the wrong team.
No.
New England is 19.9. So that's,
Maybe I'm
above
anchoring
average.
to my early season priors. This is anchoring bias in real time.
Yep, anchoring bias a little bit, but Patriots are a pass funnel. Baltimore's starting to get a little bit better on defense for
Better,
sure.
yeah.
The Bills run funnel, and then Dolphins and Cards not so good, and then Brown. But to the point though, their weeks 16, 17 is at Dolphins and Cardinals. Those are pretty good matchups for Burrow and the weapons if they're healthy.
And this is a matchup transcending offense too, right? So this is one of the
Yes.
ones where you might lean a little less on, say, a bad matchup because of Joe Burrow
Yep.
and the weapons that he has. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting thing to watch and see what happens with their season. If it's not till week 13 and they lose this week against New England, it'll be interesting to see if anything changes there as well. So
Yeah.
and then, break the
I
fourth
mean,
wall. We
if
got
come on.
sorry. To break the fourth wall, we got our man Coder hanging out backstage, and he just mentioned the impacts on Chase Brown, who has been heating up as well. So I think, myriad of impacts to Joe Burrow's return. We talked a little bit about the Bucky return, guys, doing some walkthroughs. I said, and this, Joe, you said the same word too. Dubious has come up twice on the show now, and for a third time. Still dubious on Bucky Irving's return. Jax, you seem to make a little bit of a face in agreement when I said that. Are you thinking that it seems a little bit scary, or are you hopeful?
With Bucky?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm dubious.
Amazing.
I mean, I really am, though. I am.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, dude, Joe's analysis on this Instagram post is everything for me. I'm hanging all my priors, everything on that. It sounds very, very ominous.
I'm saying not this week.
Yeah.
I need one more Sean Tucker week.
That's why.
I mean, for a fact this is longer than they thought, for sure. Like,
Oh,
they
yeah.
did not. This is not like what I mean, or at least they played a charade on us because we did not. This is not what we were told. So
No.
that always scares me,
And they didn't put him on IR, and he's been gone for way longer.
Well
than
over
that,
the
so
4 weeks.
There's
Exactly.
like some minor Joe Mixon vibes.
Yes.
Joe Mixon vibes.
Yeah. And then when they come back, an injured player, you just don't want any part of it. It's a scary proposition. I mean, I'm not a very heavy Bucky bag holder. I may not even have a Bucky Irving share, which is kind of crazy to admit in 20 some odd leagues, but is what it is. And, so for me, I haven't really considered it. I'm just sort of hanging on. I have Sean Tucker. Did I say I'm such a coward? I put this on Twitter. I have like 5 or 6 Sean Tucker shares, and I played 0 Sean Tucker this past week. I am a coward. I am a coward.
I almost want to respond to that. There is not a single place where I have Sean Tucker where I didn't play him. I was
I deserve so much pain in my life because of that. I apologize. I'm ashamed.
Joe, what's it like walking around with a set of grapefruits in your pants, Joe?
Probably, a bunch of crap in my head too.
Better than what you told us you were walking around with in your pants before.
Okay, the last one we got here is my guy, Trey Benson.
Not my guy.
Not Josh Dart.
Not Josh Dart. No, love him though. The Trey Benson practice window has opened, boys, and he looked good before the injury. And this team really needs him to come back. The Arizona Cardinals, not much to play for, except for pride, but I think Jacoby Brissett and the gang will be doing just that. And if Trey Benson comes into that team, he's going to be a factor down the stretch, boys. So looking at the schedule, they got let's say week 13, Tampa, good schedule for running backs. Rams, Houston, not good. Weeks 16 and 17 are juice though. Atlanta and Cincinnati. So Trey Benson is going to be a factor. I have him in a bunch of spots, and if he's active, I'm playing his ass.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
17. Like, yeah, he could win you money. Let's just put it that way.
And then, what does that do for his dynasty value going into 2026? I think we obviously still have to monitor what the hell happens with James Conner and what they do at the position. But do we think the door is closed on him being the lead back for the Arizona Cardinals? Did he need that stretch where he was injured to perform to be able to cement that? Or do you guys think he could still do that with a good stretch run here?
I will say this. I tried trading for Trey Benson in a few spots, and the Trey Benson managers tend to think that he will be the starting running back next year, as that was their feedback. Because I made these offers that are probably slightly above rental, not quite workhorse over the next 2 years. And I think their sentiment was like, I think he probably might be that next year. So I'm not willing to sell, light second round pick or something. You know what I mean? I think managers are feeling pretty confident with that. Have you felt or found the same thing, or not really experienced much in the Trey Benson streets?
Not in the trade streets, but I think my perception would be a little bit to the opposite, where that time spent being injured was time that he sorely needed to show them that he could be the lead back. Now he's got a decent stretch if he can come back this season, but I don't know if this is a long enough stretch for them to be confident enough to go in with him as the lead back. So I think at the very least, if Connor's not there, there's going to be some serious competition. Whereas before he was injured and when he was performing, I would have been in the same camp as the people you were trying to trade with, saying, no, this is the future for sure.
I think absolutely nobody knows. Here's the thing. Kyler Murray seems like he may be on his way out, although he's probably feeling vindicated for how bad the Cardinals have got whooped the last 2 weeks in his absence. I think that probably would have happened with him too. And there's no question. We don't need to relitigate the Kyler Murray thing. But coaching staff could be out. If they're looking for a quarterback, they're probably not drafting a running back, and that would bode well for Benson, right? But I don't know. It's just so many unknowns.
I
And
agree.
here's the problem with him is like he hasn't played. He hasn't really broken out yet. We haven't seen him be that good yet. To
No,
Trav's point, he needed this stretch. And now he's coming back from injury. So there's this built-in excuse. It's like, he was coming back from injury. We're going to go into next year not knowing. I don't think anybody values Trey Benson more than the Trey Benson owner in your league, right?
it's true. Yeah, it's
like,
true. Yeah, because I was trying to buy him, and I'm like, well, I'm not that interested. I'm just sort of seeing here if I can find some cheap running back. And again, not cheap, and then you have the contingent upside of maybe next year he's the starting running back, but I'm not betting on that with the price tag.
Yeah. I was skeptical before the injury, and I remember you guys were mad at me for kind of poo-pooing
I definitely
Benson.
was. I definitely was.
I know. Listen, Benson owners are a specific breed.
Yep.
I've got a Benson share too, and I don't know what to do with it either. Right? It's like it could be great, right? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So
I think if you guys can get a second for Benson, you're selling them. Or is that a little bit light?
27 seconds.
No,
You tell me. You tell me, Joe.
It depends on the team, right? If I need running back, I'm probably not doing it because I don't know. I don't actually see him getting up to first round value.
That's
anytime
kind of
soon.
where I was going with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably right. Honestly, 26 first and a 27 second. No.
And
No, I'm just joking.
Jeez.
That's just what I'm trying to do everywhere.
Yeah. I would certainly sell Benson for what I perceive to be an early second.
Yeah.
I think seconds are one of those. First, I suppose, are too. But first, at least they're going to be a first round pick no matter what. But those seconds, like the 201 versus the 212,
huge difference.
It's a very, very different player, very, very different prospect, oftentimes. So, yeah, I like to target early seconds, especially if I can. So for sure, if I think it could be an early second, I'm selling Benson.
Yeah, I mean, just think about next offseason, right? They do draft a running back, new coaching staff, new regime. Everyone's gonna be like, this is the guy they drafted, right? His value is going to crater. So yeah, I actually do think if you get a second for him right now, like to your point, obviously you want to be mindful of where that second's gonna land.
Yeah.
But I think his value, unless he crushes it these next few weeks, I think his value is absolutely cratering this offseason. That's probably when you go buy him.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, boys. That's a wrap. We have rounded third and crossed home, and we've recorded a fantasy football podcast. So shout out to us and shout out to the listeners for hanging out and listening to our asses talk about fantasy football for an hour plus. We have a good time doing it, so we hope you enjoy listening as well. Find us on the YouTube channel for The Undroppables. Find us on your favorite audio platform. Search Dynasty Underground. Find me in the Undroppables Discord on Sunday morning. I'm trying to pull these guys in there as much as I can. So you'll see a little Jax Falcone. You'll see a little bit of Joe Kuvatakis in the Discord from time to time. And we're having fun in there. So for Jax Falcone, for Joe Kuvatakis, for Coder sitting in the back, I am Trav. We will see you next week. Peace.